Our story begins in the late 1950s, when the winds of change swept across the Caribbean island nation of Cuba. The Cuban Revolution saw the fall of a US-backed dictator and the rise of a new leader, Fidel Castro. Castro's communist leanings were cause for alarm in the United States, fueling fears of communism spreading throughout the Americas. In 1961, the US attempted to overthrow Castro in the ill-fated Bay of Pigs invasion. The failure of this mission was a significant embarrassment for the Kennedy administration and only served to strengthen Castro's position, pushing him further into the arms of the Soviet Union. Fast forward to October 1962. American Ww3 spy planes captured alarming images of Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction in Cuba. The United States was now under direct threat, with major cities within striking range of these missiles. Faced with this unprecedented crisis, President Kennedy and his advisors had to make a difficult choice. The options on the table were a full-scale invasion of Cuba, a preemptive strike on the missile sites, or attempting to negotiate a peaceful resolution with the Soviet Union. For 13 tense days, the world held its breath as the US imposed a naval blockade around Cuba, effectively quarantining the island. As Soviet ships approached the blockade line, the threat of Ww3 loomed large. Behind the scenes, negotiations were underway. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev proposed a deal. The Soviets would remove their missiles from Cuba if the US promised not to invade the island nation. The negotiations were complex, with Kennedy secretly agreeing to dismantle US missile sites in Turkey. Finally, on October 28th, a resolution was reached. The Soviets agreed to dismantle their missile sites in Cuba. In return, the US lifted the naval blockade and assured the sovereignty of Cuba. The Cuban Missile Crisis, a defining moment in the Cold War, starkly demonstrated the razor's edge on which the world teetered. It led to significant changes in international relations, including the establishment of a direct hotline between Washington and Moscow and a renewed emphasis on arms control and non-proliferation. As we look back on the Cuban Missile Crisis, we are reminded of the potential devastation of nuclear warfare and the critical role of diplomacy in global conflicts. Even though the Cold War has ended, the lessons from those 13 days continue to resonate, serving as a guidepost as we navigate contemporary global challenges.